Janam Yugala Charana Bhaktar Janam Yugala Charana Tarana Bhava
Sri Pada Bhava
जग जन्म दुख जाय। नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत, नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत, मन वचन एकाधार, प्रभु मन वचन एकाधार। ज्योतिर्ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, ज्योतिर्ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, तुमि तम भंजनहार, प्रभु तुमि तम भंजनहार। नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत, नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत, मन वचन एकाधार, प्रभु मन वचन एकाधार। ज्योतिर्ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, ज्योतिर्ज्योति उजल हृदय कंदर, तुमि तम भंजनहार, प्रभु तुमि तम भंजनहार। धध लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग, धध लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग। गायचे छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तुम्हार, गायचे छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तुम्हार। जय जय आरती तुम्हार, हर हर आरती तुम्हार, शिव शिव आरती तुम्हार। खान दान भाव गान जग बंदन वंदित तुम्हारे। जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय। ओम ह्रीं ऋतं त्वमचलो गुणजित् गुणेभ्यः नाक्तं दिवां सकरुणं तव पादपद्मं। मोहं कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। भक्तिर्भगश्च भजनं भवभेदकारी गच्छन्तलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं। वक्त्रोद्धृतोऽपि हृदये न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। तेजस्तरन्ति तरसा त्वयि तृप्त तृष्णां। रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे। मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मि नाशं। तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो। कृत्यं करोमि स्मृति कलुषं कुहकान्त कारे शान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरणो जगदेक गम्य तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीन बन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ सर्वमङ्गल मङ्गले शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातनी गुणा स्वयं गुणमय नारायणी नमोस्तुते। शरणागतो दीनार्तो परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यार्ति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय नारायणी जय महामाई की जय। जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय। जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय। जय स्वामी योगानंद महाराज जी की जय। प्रकृतिं परमां अभयां वरदां नररूपधरां जनतापहरां शरणागत सेवक दोषकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां गुणहीनसुतां अपराधयुतान् कृपया दशमुद्धर मोहगतान् तरणीं भवसागर पारकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां विषयं कुसुमं परिहृत्य सदा चरणाम्बुरुहामृत शान्तिशुधां इव भृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरां प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां। कृपां कुरु महादेवी श्रुतेषु प्रणतेषु च चरणाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते। लज्जापटावृते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो न सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तु ते। रामकृष्णगतप्राणां तन्नाम श्रवणप्रियां तद्भावरञ्जिताकारां प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्यां पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै दिव्यै नमो नमः। देवीं प्रसन्नां प्रणतां त्रिहन्त्रीं योगीन्द्रपूज्यां युगधर्मपात्रीं तां शारदां भक्ति विज्ञानदात्रीं दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि नित्यं। स्नेहेन बध्नासि मनोस्मदीयं दोषान् शेषान् सगुणीकरोषि अहेतुनानो दयशेषदोषान् साङ्ख्ये गृहीतवान् यदिदं विचित्रम्। प्रसीद मातर् विनयेन याचे नित्यं भव स्नेहवती श्रुतेषु प्रेमैकबिन्दुं चिरदग्धचित्ते विषिञ्च चेत् चित्तं कुरुना सुशान्तम् जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। सपार्षद श्री रामकृष्ण स्तोत्रम। सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। यथाग्निर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया यथाग्निर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया सर्वविद्या स्वरूपान्तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहं शारदां प्रणमाम्यहं परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समागया परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समागया यो धर्म स्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहं वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहं कालिन्दी फुल्लकमले माधवेन क्रीडारत कालिन्दी फुल्लकमले माधवेन क्रीडारत ब्रह्मानन्द नमस्तुभ्यं सद्गुरो लोकनायक सद्गुरो लोकनायक योगानन्द प्रेमानन्दः चान्ये वै ये च पार्षदाः योगानन्द प्रेमानन्दः चान्ये वै ये च पार्षदाः रामकृष्ण गतप्राणा सर्वांस्तां प्रणमाम्यहं सर्वांस्तान् प्रणमाम्यहम्। Today, on the auspicious occasion of the birth anniversary of Srimad Swami Yoganandaji Maharaj, Swami Dayamurtyananda will give a short discourse on the life and teachings of Yoganandaji.
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Swami Yoganandaji, who was born as Jogin, he lived just behind the Dakshineshwar Kali Mandir. He used to visit Dakshineshwar garden but never used to meet Sri Ramakrishna because he had heard that some of his friends speaking about Thakur as Pagal, a madman. So he used to just visit the temple garden and go visit the temple and go away. Once it so happened that he saw a gardener whom he presumed to be a gardener and asked him to give him some flour. And after this, he just started getting to know about Sri Ramakrishna in Sulabh Samachar, a journal which was published from the Brahmo Samaj, Keshav Chandra Sen, who praised Sri Ramakrishna. Inquisitively, he just went to the veranda where Sri Ramakrishna stayed. There was nobody in the veranda, and Thakur was speaking with some devotees in his room. Thakur just said, go and get all the people who are staying in the veranda inside. There was only Jogin who was standing there. He was very shy to enter that, and then once somebody called him, he went and sat down. After some time, whatever Thakur was speaking with the devotees went on. After everybody left, Thakur asked him, "What's your name?" He said, "Jogin." "Your father's name?" "Naveen Chandra Roy Chaudhary." "Oh, I know your father very well. I used to visit your house. They used to invite me on and off." So, after all this discussion, Jogin thought he must be a sane person, but people misunderstand him and laugh at him. People who are mad with divine love for God and ecstasy appear to be insane to a common man. And Sri Ramakrishna asked Jogin to come again. The following day when Jogin went, he was very happy and he recognized him as one of his inner circle members known as Ishvara Kotis. Ishvara Kotis take birth along with the avatar to take a part of his Leela. Then Jogin was such a person who was not interested in all the worldly studies like everybody. Sometimes he used to withdraw himself, sit in a corner and think, "Oh, which world have I come from? This is not my world." And with all these things increasing, and he loved to spend time reading Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Bhagavata, recitation of Bhagavata, Kirtans and all that. So, this was not very much appreciated by this family. And then, since he showed no interest as he grew up, Jogin himself said, "I would like to go to Kanpur and work there." So they thought it's a good idea, let him go there, his uncle is there. So that way Jogin went to Kanpur. But before all this, when he was visiting Sri Ramakrishna, he thought, what is Sri Ramakrishna? He asked Sri Ramakrishna, how do I progress and how do I love God? How do I win lust? What Sri Ramakrishna said is, just love God. But this didn't really appeal to him. What he said was, there should be, this man either doesn't know anything or he's just making it very light. There was a Hatha Yogi who was nearby, and then he was practicing like Kapala, it's Neti Dhauti. That is swallowing a piece of cloth and then taking lot of water and bringing out, cleansing his system internally. So he thought this man must be a great yogi, and without informing Sri Ramakrishna, he went the other day to the yogi. Within a few minutes, Sri Ramakrishna went there, caught Jogin by his hand and said, "Come along with me." And he said, "Remember, if you are concentrating more on the body, your love for God will reduce." This was a very strong message for Jogin. So when he went to Kanpur, he tried to work, he tried to find a job, but was not successful. And his tendencies of contemplation all increased, which bothered his uncle, and who wrote to his father, "You please," the daughter of Madhusudan Roy, who was close to Dakshineshwar. But unlike all marriages, Jogin's marriage was full of misery. He had agreed to marry, and when he went, but he never shared the bed with the wife. And and that day he went on taking the name of the God the night, and he went upstairs. And so this was why Swami Vivekananda was telling at later stages, if at all anybody has conquered lust in all its aspects, it is Jogin who has done that. The other, the other thing is, as soon as Jogin got married, he thought, now how will I go to Sri Ramakrishna? He has told me so much, and if I go, with what face will I go? And he stopped and he was with utter despair and repenting all the time. But this marriage of Jogin's marriage, Sri Ramakrishna heard, and then he sent word through somebody, "Come and meet me." But it never happened. Many times he sent. Then Sri Ramakrishna hit upon a plan, and he remembered Jogin trying to get some items from the market from a person from the Dakshineshwar temple, and telling him that he would return the change. But the change had not come back. Using this incident, he sent word through somebody, "What sort of man are you? A man gave you money to buy certain articles, and you have neither returned the balance nor even sent word when you will return it." Jogin's pride was hurt. He returned to Ramakrishna the very next day, and he thought, I should never be a cheat in Sri Ramakrishna's eyes. So when he came, Sri Ramakrishna came forward and he said, "What if you are married? Haven't I to be married? What is there to be afraid of? If you have the grace of this place," that is meaning himself, "even 100,000 marriages will be powerless to affect you. If you want to live a family life and realize God at the same time, bring your wife here once. I will make both of you fit for that. And if you want to renounce worldly life and attain God, I will make that also possible for you." So giving both the options, he made the whole scene very light for Jogin, and the dead weight which was lifted from his heart. Jogin then was trying to speak about the money, and Ramakrishna never bothered about it. So this re-established the spiritual relationship between the master and the disciple. So Jogin was feeling a little guilty because he was neglecting his wife. So Sri Ramakrishna told him, "Don't worry, you bring your wife. Bring her here once, either on Tuesday or Saturday, which is considered auspicious for worship of Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother will grant what is right for her." Accordingly, Jogin took his wife, and Sri Ramakrishna blessed her, saying, "You don't have to worry about her anymore." And then, because he blessed that wife, and then Jogin felt that Sri Ramakrishna had taken the responsibility of wife, and he was relieved forever. And in the meanwhile, his mother started again telling him, "If you don't care for money, why did you marry?" Then Jogin replied, I told you again and again that I had no intention of marrying, but I gave way to your tears. Then mother, what she replied was, what do you mean? How could you marry unless you had a desire? So this made Jogin feel that I did this only to please my mother, and she's speaking like this. Sri Ramakrishna is the only person I have met whose words and thoughts are in perfect accordance. And then his disgust with the world increased, and he found solace only with Sri Ramakrishna. He used to spend days and nights with Sri Ramakrishna. And during that time, Jogin tested Sri Ramakrishna whether he was a true sadhu or not. Once in midnight, he found Ramakrishna not on his cot. He just tried to see where he is, but then suddenly it occurred. Has he gone to Nahabat where Holy Mother stays? And then he hid behind bushes. But within a few minutes, he saw Thakur coming behind from Panchavati side and asked, "Hey, what are you doing standing here?" This embarrassed Jogin, he hung his head in shame and he could not utter any word. But Sri Ramakrishna was not at all hurt by what he did. Ramakrishna said, "Yes, you are right, but you have to examine a sadhu day and night before you believe him." And Jogin said, "You are neither a householder nor a sannyasin." That means he meant that master was God beyond attributes. What an extraordinary statement you have made, was Ramakrishna's reply. Ramakrishna wanted, not only did Ramakrishna want his disciples to watch over him, Ramakrishna himself watched over his disciples. He found that Jogin was eating more food in the night. Eating more in the night is not congenial for spiritual practices. He said, how can I feed you if you take so much in the night? Better you eat in your house and come back. Come before you come here for the night. So, this again had an impact on Jogin's, this again changed Jogin's life, the way how his austerities increased. And Jogin never used to eat elsewhere when he went outside. But only once he went with Sri Ramakrishna outside, and though Sri Ramakrishna ate in other places, Jogin never ate. Except when he went to Balaram's house, he had something, sweets and fruits, because in the past also he knew that Balaram was a very devoted person and it will not affect his spiritual practices. And once when Sri Ramakrishna had wanted to go out to Balaram's house, he wanted to carry a dhoti and a towel. And when in the carriage, when they were just about to cross the gate of the Dakshineshwar temple, Sri Ramakrishna inquired Jogin, "Have you taken both the towel and the dhoti?" Then he said, "No, I have taken only the towel. Dhoti they will give you." Sri Ramakrishna got angry and said, "What are you speaking? People will say, this hapless fellow has come. Don't cause any inconvenience to to the people you go there. Always see that." And he also said, when people feel that a wretched fellow will come, and when the host is inconvenienced. This was a great education for Jogin. Every action of Sri Ramakrishna, he found, action and the word carried deep meaning. And once it so happened that the Rasamani's temple, there was a portion of food which she had designated should be given to the to Sri Ramakrishna and other priests. She wanted that her money should be spent in feeding religious people. Since it didn't come to the place of Sri Ramakrishna, after a few days, Sri Ramakrishna went to the manager and asked him for an explanation, and then it started coming. Jogen started thinking, this person is just like any other priest, always trying to ask for trivial things. But later on he learned that it was not, he learned it is not just trivial. It is just that Sri Ramakrishna wants to respect what words the Rani had wanted it to happen. And on one occasion, Sri Ramakrishna asked Jogen to kill some cockroaches which were in the chest along with the clothes. But Jogen didn't follow that. He just let it off. Then Thakur reprimanded him, saying, you have to follow my instructions. If you cannot follow simple instructions or worldly instructions, how will you follow my spiritual instructions? This was a great message for Jogen. Once it so happened that Jogen was traveling in a boat, and then somebody started accusing Sri Ramakrishna. He just kept quiet, and he thought, if I come back and tell Sri Ramakrishna, because he is above all this praise and blame, nothing will happen. But instead he got scolded by him. He said, if somebody scolds your guru, either you give back or get away from there. You should not keep listening to this. And when somebody was trying to tarnish the image of Sri Ramakrishna, he said, Sri Ramakrishna told him, foolish people say so many things. Why do you listen to them? And this time, this taught Jogen to ignore the endless gossip of the worldly plane. Similarly, when he had gone to Girish's house, he asked for a few candles. And while giving candles, he also started abusing Sri Ramakrishna in that inebriated state. When he came and reported to Sri Ramakrishna, he said, Girish is a different class of person. His path is different, yours is different. During September 1885, Sri Ramakrishna was taken to Calcutta for treatment of his cancer. And then Jogen served him to a great extent. Once, when Sri Ramakrishna expressed that he wanted to eat a type of custard made of Zedowari root from a particular shop, instead of going to the shop, he went and told Joginma that Sri Ramakrishna wanted to eat this, and they told her, wait, we will prepare. And it took quite some time for them to prepare. And when Jogen went back to Sri Ramakrishna refused to take it, because he said, I told you something because I wanted it from that particular shop. If you bring something very rich and hard, I cannot digest it. And he never touched it. So he learned that he had to follow his guru's instructions. And Jogen was one of the 12 disciples of Sri Ramakrishna who received ochre cloth and rosaries from Sri Ramakrishna. After Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, Jogen was very much down, and then he accompanied Holy Mother to Devgar, then Varanasi, Ayodhya and Vrindavan. And he used to narrate how Holy Mother was spending her time. Even in the midst of her intense grief at passing away of the Master, fully realized his divine grace and presence all the time. We thought of ourselves as helpless orphans, but Mother's love became our sheet anchor. After spending about a year in Vrindavan, Jogin went to Haridwar by train. And then he, while he was on the way, he fell, he had high fever and he was unconscious. Then a divine form appeared saying that you must, rather a woman like a goddess wearing red cloth said, you must offer rasagullas. Next day, his fever abated, and then when he went to Haridwar, Brahmakund, Chandi Hills, along with the party, at Jaipur, when he went to visit the famous Govinda temple, he saw a goddess with red cloth whom he recognized as the same deity he had seen during his fever. That was Sitala Devi. And he purchased rasagullas from a nearby shop and offered it to the goddess. Later on, he returned to Baranagar Mutt, and then he stayed with all his disciples, with his fellow disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. The monastery, the disciples used to study Vedanta scriptures, Bible, the imitation of Christ, and other scriptures. But Yoganandaji did not care much for studying all the scriptures. Okay, just before this, I just forgot. Yoganandaji was the first disciple of Holy Mother. And then during this around this period, a crucial incident took place in Yogananda's life, which was narrated by Swami Shivananda. Swami Yogananda was a highly evolved soul. He was extremely handsome and had a manly body. Once he was traveling in Central Province and he was alone in a train car. At a particular station, when the train was about to leave, a beautiful courtesan hurriedly got into the same carriage with her luggage. As soon as her eyes fell on Yogananda, she got infatuated and begged him, I offer my everything to you, please accept. When Yogananda did not respond, she became impatient and threatened him. If you don't listen to me right now, I shall pull the alarm chain to stop the train and complain. She was carrying a bottle of wine in her bag. She began to drink the wine to become more excited, but it had the opposite effect. She became so drunk that she passed out on her seat. When the train reached the next station, Yogananda got off the train unharmed. Look what grace of the Master. Who else can protect except he? Later on, Yoganandaji went to Varanasi and spent his time in meditation. He would, with intense austerity, he would beg food and sometimes eat only dry chapatis soaked in water for 2 or 3 days. Later on, Yoganandaji returned to the monastery and started serving Holy Mother and her attendant. It was he who introduced Swami Sharadananda to Holy Mother. During the last years, 1895 to 1897, it was Yoganandaji who took a leading role to arrange the birth anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar in a very grand scale. Similarly, after the Dakshineshwar, after 3 years of doing it in Dakshineshwar, it was later shifted to Belur at Dance Complex in 1898 when Swami Vivekananda had returned. And it was he who organized for a very grand reception to welcome Swamiji. And it was Yoganandaji who argued with Swamiji on 1st of May 1897 when when the Ramakrishna mission was inaugurated. He said, Sri Ramakrishna, he told Swami Vivekananda, you are doing these things by Western methods. Would you say that Sri Ramakrishna left us any such instructions? And then Swamiji replied, how do you know that these methods are not in keeping with his ideas? Sri Ramakrishna was the embodiment of infinite ideas. Do you want to confine him within your own limits? I shall break those limits and scatter his ideas broadcast all over the world. He never instructed me to introduce worship of him and so on forth. The methods of spiritual practice, concentration and meditation, and the other higher ideals of religion that he taught, those we must realize and teach to all human beings. Infinite are the ideas and infinite are the paths that lead to the goal. I was not born to create a new sect in this world, too full of sects already. Blessed are we that we have found refuge at the feet of our Master. It is our duty to give the ideas entrusted to us freely to the whole world. Yogananda did not dissent, and then Swamiji continued, time and again I have received marks of his grace. He himself is at my back and making me do all these things. And later on, Yoganandaji was deeply moved and he praised Swamiji's greatness. Yoganandaji's health began to fail. Swamiji took him to Darjeeling, Almora, and the Himalayan region and arranged all kinds of treatment. But his health rapidly deteriorated. Seeing this, Holy Mother was very much apprehensive. But when Yoganandaji was bedridden, Adbhutanandaji came to him at Holy Mother's house in Bospara Lane, and Yoganandaji said, "This illness will never be cured. Doctors have advised me to take pomegranate juice, luchi, and some catfish soup. These are all meant for rich people and for luxurious." Adbhutanji said, "What do you mean? When one is sick, he needs special diet." "But who will supply it?" Yoganandaji asked. "We will arrange all this." And Yoganji said, "I know that. You see, Holy Mother wants my wife to come and prepare all these things to me. What is your opinion? I am a monk. Shall I have to accept service from my wife? I can't agree to this proposal." Because he felt all these days he neglected his wife, and only at the time when he needs, he wanted to take off the service. But when Holy Mother, but it was endorsed, and then his wife served him till the end. Later on, his wife was spent time after Yoganandaji's passing away. His wife was in spiritual sadhana, and the Belur Mutt used to take care of her need, of her ration and other things. During the last illness, Yoganandaji suffered from blood dysentery. He was emaciated. But even at that time, he said, "Yes, I know that he said, "Yes, I can think of Thakur." And before his passing away, when Shivanandaji asked him, "Do you remember the master?" "Yes, yes, I remember the master more, even more, much more." With this, we conclude the life of Swami Yogananda. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.